I don't know if you would say it was viral. Why most branding advice is outdated. The emotional connection that you create when it comes down to branding, being flexible is very critical. That's what really matters. Like I said, that relationship that you build between you and the customers or you and people may take for face value, but we don't take that here. Seriously, we ain't hearing that. And it's not just because of the aesthetics. Oh, they just look really clean and polished and minimalism or anything like that. No, the engagement of all the different touch points, closing that gap so that it's no longer I'm over here and you're over there and we're looking at each other saying, "Hey, what you doing here? I'm doing this. You're doing that." That's one great way to be able to change that outdated narrative. I feel like when it comes down to branding, how they make their customers feel. It's the customer service and the packaging and
Design, designing less. Designing in your face. Design, designing less. Designing in your face. Don't know what to design today, but there's just one thing I know for sure.
what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Designing Last. I'm your host, Devin. Here, we're gonna jump right on into it today. The topic at hand today is I don't know if you would say it was viral worthy or anything like that, but it definitely is something that you're gonna want to listen up and look deep and further into because we're gonna dive into it today, y'all. But we are short on time, so we may have to go ahead and just break this on up. However, it's important that you go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe, share, and all that good stuff as usual. If you really do like this, because today we're going to talk about why most branding advice is outdated. That's right, I said it, outdated. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on the internet where people are promoting all kind of things or pushing all kind of different narratives for different agendas, and we're really gonna slow it down and stop and say, hey, like, is that really what it is, or is that just more your feeding me what you think I want to hear or what you want to just share because it gives you whatever you're looking for. Um, here at Deft, we try to stay away from doing things just because of numbers. We want to be organic and natural, so we want to talk about, the device that's going on that's out there that people may take for face value, but we don't take that here. Seriously, we ain't hearing that. New merch alert. Get your sexy specs. You know what I'm saying? Your Deft sexy specs comes in all different different colors. The uh, the shirts, as you see, quality, nice, soft, comes in all different colors. So you can go to the website and get the shirts exclusively, but they're going to be limited. So get it while you can. I don't know exactly how long they're going to be on the website, y'all, being honest. So, hey, get it while you can, and you can get it in multiple different colors, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's for your his or hers or just for you, you know what I'm saying? Everybody needs to treat themselves, show how deft they are. You know what I'm saying? I'll be at the register, and hopefully when you get there, you can let me know, how deaf you are as you get ready to check out and further into because we're gonna dive into it today, y'all. But we are short on time, so we may have to go ahead and just break this on up. However, it's important that you go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe, share, and all that good stuff as usual. If you really do like this, because today we're going to talk about why most branding advice is outdated. That's right, I said it, outdated. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on the internet where people are promoting all kind of things or pushing all kind of different narratives for different agendas. And we're really gonna slow it down and stop and say, hey, like, is that really what it is? Or is that just more your feeding me what you think I want to hear or what you want to just share because it gives you whatever you're looking for. Um, here at Def, we try to stay away from doing things just because of numbers. We want to be organic and natural, so we want to talk about, the device that's going on that's out there that people may take for face value, but we don't take that here. Seriously, we ain't hearing that. So, man, one thing first and foremost, man, I gotta go ahead and say, like, one of the biggest things that I hear about when it comes to branding that's outdated is that, you know, that branding is all about, like I said, the logo, the color palette, the shape, and the font that you choose. And if once you get that right, then you got a brand. No, that's not it. That's not what makes a brand. Uh, that's not even all that comes into even building their logo identity. Like that's the surface level. It really is. Like I can show you examples, and you know what? We might even do so just so you can get a visual identity, visual on what I'm talking about. Because I don't know if you all are familiar with like the history behind logo design. This is not something that was just created yesterday or even 2 days ago. Like it's been a journey and it's not going to stop like evolving. However, now where we are today when it comes to the process is different than how it was from before because now we have technology on our side that allows us to be able to do things a little bit more efficiently and be able to speed up the process. Also, we also have technology on our side that allows us to be able to get the ideas out there quicker. Just it is like from the Industrial Revolution to now, like as far as you know, you don't have to sit down and draw out each every letter form to a T to get the feel of what you're trying to convey, and then have to figure out how you're going to be able to get that digitalized. Like now, you can do so within, you know, a click of a button, and because of that, like I feel like that there's a lot of outdated uh, jargon and things like that that are being used that people don't need to know or really doesn't really apply to them no more. Like it really is that simple. Like them days of saying your logo has to be this, and that in order for it to work, or I feel like are done. It really has to do with how the logo and how the brand makes you feel. That's what it really comes down to. Like that's what makes a strong, successful brand. It's not about the look and aesthetics. It's about how they make you feel. That's what makes a strong brand, like Nike, uh, um, Apple, Adobe, uh, even Tesla. Like I know they're going through their own little things going on right now, and a lot of, they're getting some bad publicity. But I'm just saying they are still a strong brand, and it's not just because of the aesthetics. Oh, they just look really clean and polished and minimalism or anything like that. No, it's because of how they make their customers feel. It's the customer service and the packaging and all that things go into one. I'm gonna give you a solution to how we can all be better at changing that narrative of outdated branding. And one way to do so is one way that I practice even myself when it comes down to designing and building brands and things of that nature is making the logo flexible and adaptable. That is very important. Like depending on what the platform and how it's going to be used, whether it be a website, whether it be a favcon, or it's going to be the main logo being showed on the website. Like all those things have to do with the bigger picture of how the brand is going to be perceived, and it's going to be looking perceived differently across different platforms. So that's the one big way to be able to change that outdated narrative thinking when it comes down to branding. Like if you could still thinking that, you know, once I create this logo, this is all I need, and um, my company is going to be successful like that now because I had this amazing looking logo. I mean, that's not what it is, y'all. I hate to say it. I really do hate to say that because as important it is and how cool it is to have an amazing looking logo that people can identify with, that's not what branding is. That's, like I said, one aspect, just a surface level aspect at that, depending on how the designer and you and the person who's getting the logo design, depending on their relationship, how they communicate and understand more than just um, the project at hand. Because branding really is a process. It's not just a one and done thing. It really is not something that you can just say, hey, once I get this logo, like I said, oh man, I'm going to get all the clients and all the sales, all the my products going to go fall off the shelf. That's not how it works. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now, making subtle tweaks to your logo over time, and making it adaptable, flexible, can change how people perceive your brand, and can, I don't know, give your brand that facelift that it needs, and can change the, excuse me, it could definitely change how the feedback that you get from customers and things of that nature. But that doesn't mean that's all it takes. Like, there's a lot of things that go into when it comes down to branding, which leads me to go to, carrying on to like what works now for brands. Like, I think that to further go based off of what I was just telling you about, you need to focus on how people engage with your brand. Like, that's very important. How people engage with your brand, as whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're the creative director, whether you're the, I don't know, the assistant, or whoever you are within your brand that makes some decisions. Like, you need to really think about that as far as the overall picture when it comes down to branding. When you focus on the engagement of all the different touch points, I feel like, and this is from my own personal experience, I noticed that even here at Deft, we've gotten better when it comes down to that. Because when we focus on the engagement and making a better product, especially like when it comes to this podcast, like Designing Laughs, it helps further understand our target audience, and it builds on our relationship between both you and I. Like, it really does close in that gap so that it's no longer I'm over here and you're over there, and we're looking at each other saying, hey, what you doing here? I'm doing this. You're doing that. No, what are we doing? And how can we do this and that together? If that makes sense to you visually, like, that's what we want to do here at Deft. We want to build that relationship and build that connection. So that's one great way to be able to change that outdated narrative when it comes down to branding that is very heavily stuck in our mind as a culture. Like, people think that they hear one or two things when it comes to certain buzzwords, and that's where their mind stops at, and then anything else after that, kind of like comes in and goes out. And we want to change that here. With that said, I think it's a great time to be able to say that, I have a special announcement, y'all. We want to further, change the narrative of, you know, branding and creativity here at Deft when it comes down to interacting and being engaging with our viewers. So, for a limited time only, we are going to be allowing you all, that's right, you all, the viewers, firsthand, a chance to be able to have the say so on the naming of our character for designing last. Like, we've been here for over a year now, y'all, and we noticed that, I think if any time is now is a good time to be able to go ahead and come up with a cool name for our character. So I'm going to show you the character of our logo so you guys can get refreshed. What's happening, everyone? I'm Devin, and welcome to Cook This, Designing Last Cook segment, where colleagues and clients, that's right, colleagues and clients help me complete the creative exercise here at Deft by cooking this. Today, I'm joined with Yesenia,
Woo!
Ciara,
That's me.
woo, and Jasmine.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, come on, y'all. All right. So, um, we're gonna do a few rounds where we're going to be cooking this, and then afterwards, we're gonna have a break where we'll be able to just have a little laugh, about what we just saw. So let's jump right on into it. I'm gonna share the screen with you all, and we're going to go ahead and cook. So
The
there we
first
go.
time was
Alien within 30
understood.
seconds. Huh. This
That's yeah, they gotta move a lot faster. You're trying to do 30 seconds.
well, our artists here, man, they guess working on their own time, but
Clearly.
man, look at that. If that is not Blink Man in the feet in like in the flesh.
I was gonna laugh, but that didn't work.
Is that Batman's mask?
No,
that seems accurate.
it's like a castle, like a little medieval castle. I think.
Yeah. That's a little house on the prairie, right?
Yeah.
Or
Or is that Noah's Ark? Like, I don't know. There's so many different shapes in one.
I still just want to know, like, why he has on gloves.
ooh,
Hey man, thank you, man, for helping me cook this, bro. Like, I don't think if I could do that by myself, bro, because you were saying more than I could, and I was lost for
I
uh
mean, I was just trying to make sure I worked it out, man. If I could see the vision coming, right? I wanted to try to jump in the mind of the artist and figure out what was going on there. What were they trying to show me? I
true.
tell you one thing, don't let them design the next fan, though. That was not safe.
Hey man, chop chop, like man, that thing was down all the
Oh, it
way.
was super low. Like, and then like you got to think this spinning. The thing's gonna be all over the
Exactly.
place.
Exactly,
You can't
man.
have that kind of length on a ceiling fan.
It was hilarious. But hey, thank you to our artists, man, for being willing to draw on short notice with no reference, by the way. So this is
Yeah, oh,
all
clearly,
so this is all for fun. But hey,
all mental.
yeah, but hey, they were up for the challenge, man, and showing how deft they can be, and we appreciate them, and we appreciate you all for tuning in to another episode of the Cook This segment here on Designer Labs. Now back to the podcast. I want to hear from you all. Like, the engagement is important here at the podcast at Designing Labs. So, with our character here, we want to hear from you all your suggestions on naming our character. So this is going to be very simple, very easy to be able to be a part of it. Simple as this. When you watch this episode of the podcast live here today, you can simply go into the comments and put in your suggestion for our character. What do you think his name should be or her name? Um, Let the games begin. Let's have some fun. And we're going to give you guys 1 week. That's right, 1 full week to be able to suggest what you feel like the name should be. And then after that, for the next episode, we're going to go ahead and announce who has the most creative and the best name for our character. Now, the person who does win that, the naming of that will be get a shout out. And if you are up to it, you can also, we invite you to come onto the podcast. Now, to do so, like I said, is very simple. All you gotta do is simply respond to this video when it comes down to this episode of the podcast and let us know. Like, we let the fun begin, y'all. Like, I got all kinds of names, but I don't want to rely on, you know, a team here at Deft or my own individual thoughts or even putting in AI and coming up with a bunch of random names. No, we want to hear from you. This is it, y'all. This is your chance to be involved, engage, and we're watching and we're listening. So when you do leave a comment, we will definitely keep note of it so that if we see names that are a lot of the same, we're definitely going to take a note of that. And who knows, if you see one name in particular, leading a little bit too far, way more than others, we might even create a poll for it. But we don't know until we hear from you. All right. So another outdated viewing when it comes down to branding is the whole myth of consistency. Yeah, that's right. There's a outdated message that's going on around the internet that you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. And yes, you do have to be consistent. But that's not it. It's all these different things that go into when it comes down to building a brand. One thing is not going to be the deciding factor for you being a successful brand or having a successful brand. It is a layered, complex, ongoing problem that doesn't have to be that way. Brands need to be more adaptive. That's right. They need to be adaptive and not only just consistent, because you can be consistently telling the same story over and over again, but like I said, it can be outdated and no longer relevant to the times. It's no longer consistent, so it's no longer necessary to have a logo that can only be used only on business cards or only can be used on merch and things of that. It has to be able to be adaptive to a website, social media, and has to have a different feel and tone that still is related to the brand, but it works differently depending on those individual platforms too. Because here's a prime example. The video content we might put on TikTok ain't gonna work the same way we do if we put it on LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube, as you see us here today. Like, so keep that in mind, y'all. Like, when it comes down to your brand and building your brand, being flexible is very critical. Like, and being very adaptive as far as the look and feel and the tone and the messaging that you put out there needs to be just as the same. Like, it needs to be able to stay current with the times, and it needs to be consistent as well. I'll give you an example basically of how you can do so, because we're not here just talking about what we think is going on or what we just noticed. We are also taking information from you, the viewers, our peers, and also our colleagues. Like, there's a lot of information out there to be sorted through, and we appreciate all the information that we get because it helps us be able to be the most precise that we can be when it comes down to being a designer, being an artist, being a creative individual, and just being a brand that's dedicated to telling the story as creatively as we possibly can while being authentic. I say that because our solutions for, changing that outdated narrative of the myth of being consistent would be that it's important to develop a core personal brand, that allows you to, to be adaptive on different platforms. Like I said, goes back to what I was talking about, how on TikTok, you're not going to see the same videos as you might not as you see on some other platforms that we have. And that's not just because we don't want to, I don't know, we don't want to everybody to know all information. Like, no, certain information doesn't carry the same weight as it does on different platforms. It just isn't just that. Like, YouTube is designed for long form content, and TikTok is not so. So even though it has an amazing algorithm that allows people to do some things that you're not gonna see nowhere else, YouTube is one of our big foundations as far as our home is overall picture when it comes down to death because the stuff that we talk about here is not something you can just get overnight, like you can't build a brand overnight. You can't change the brand that you have overnight. Um you can't learn the knowledge that we've attained in just a one matter of one video. However, you can get a lot from us though, and you can learn a lot within a short amount of time. And because of that, we try to break it up and make the content so that you can digest it as easily as possible. And that's why we like being able to have different platforms that we can be able to share different things on. So building your core brand as far as like your personality that is can be flexible on different platforms is the way of the future. It really is. Like that's gonna be my projection for when it comes down to video content and anything. Like if you can take anything from anything that we've designed or anything that we've talked about or anything that you've heard from any of our guests or anything like that, like it's that what you do today, you know, uh, makes a difference when it comes down to the overall picture, and it can change over time. But if it is going to change over time, you need to, do so subtly without making it unrecognizable of who you are at the core, because the final thought of it all comes down to you and the customers you serve. Like, I think for my final thoughts, I'm going to go ahead and start saying this, man. Like, the emotional connection that you create when it comes down to branding, that's what really matters. Like I said, that relationship that you build between you and the customers, or you and your product and your clients, or however you operate within your industry, that emotional connection is what really builds a brand when it comes down to longevity. And like the stories that you guys build and the memories that you guys build together, it should shape up the story. I think that's what builds a difference between, you know, just another collab or a partnership that, can flourish and stand the test of time. That's what I think when it comes down to branding. So, just to break down everything and do a short little recap of everything that we talked about today when it comes down to, you know, the branding advice that is outdated, that needs to change, we want to just say this. Consistency is just as important as it was today as it was to yesterday. However, it doesn't stop there. You have to be adaptive as well. The days of being consistently doing the same thing and thinking you're going to get a different result every time is not how it works. Consistency along with adaptability, because the times are changing and rapidly, is where you need to be. Also, flexibility when it comes down to logo designs alone is just as important. And when it comes down to it, your overall brand personality should always be adaptive to the situation and to the platform or the goal at hand. What you see from Netflix on one platform is not going to be the same as you see it on another. And with that being said, this has been another episode of Designing Last. I'm your host, Devin. Hey, don't forget about our contest going on currently for the next week. You can go ahead and reply to this episode of the podcast and let us know what should we name him or her. If you guys have learned anything from this episode of the podcast and you want to see more episodes where we break down, how branding is evolving, stay tuned. Until next episode of the podcast, I'm Devin, here with Designing Last. Until next time, stay creative, stay engaged. Peace!
Designing last.